Vi chiedete come sia l'HR perfetto? Eccomi! Mi chiamo HR 9000. Sono il risultato della più alta ricerca tecnologica applicata ad un responsabile delle risorse umane. Ma molto meglio di un umano. Cos'ho in più? Agilità. Rispondo in modo efficiente ad aspettative mutevoli. Comunicazione, anche in assenza di informazioni. Analisi. I dati non hanno segreti. E poi problem solving, descrizione, ascolto. Ma soprattutto la mia specialità sono i colloqui. Buongiorno, Grazia. Quindi, per quale motivo dovremmo scegliere proprio lei per questo ruolo?
No, non è che dovete, ci mancherebbe. Una volta mi hanno scelto come segretario alla riunione di condominio. Poi ho capito che non era il mio forte. Io forse sono più creativo. E poi in gruppo no, che mi confondo con...
Intendevo dire, qual è il suo valore aggiunto?
Ecco, magari il lavoro di gruppo no. Ma suonare i ordini, Snoop mi ascoltava sempre. E io gli ho insegnato molte cose. Mi scusi, l'emozione. Snoop era il mio cane.
Il valore aggiunto.
Cioè in realtà non era mio, ma del mio vicino.
Il valore aggiunto.
Cosa intende? Lei vuole sapere come mi vedo tra 5 anni. Ricco? Sì, ma senza lavorare troppo.
Il valore aggiunto.
Martedì e giovedì.
La città non mi basta più. Voglio avere una casa più grande. Trovare un lavoro che posso fare da remoto. Non sarebbe bellissimo?
Coach Hub rappresenta uno strumento innovativo, flessibile nei tempi di utilizzo e anche nelle modalità di erogazione. È di facile fruizione e i coach sono di alto livello.
Ne abbiamo subito sposato la mission, quindi democratizzare il coaching.
Allora, le sfide che Coach Hub ci ha aiutato ad affrontare sono state molteplici.
Grazie Renato. Lui, tu hai parlato di autenticità ed è esattamente quello che noi di CleverConnect abbiamo voluto fare. Quindi ci scusiamo in anticipo perché Louis Coulon parla 45 lingue, non ancora l'italiano ma lo capisce. Questo l'ho imparato a mie spese, che quindi l'italiano lo capisce benissimo se parliamo piano. Se andiamo velocemente magari lo capisce un po' meno. Quindi quello che abbiamo voluto fare di CleverConnect è stato chiedere a lui, quindi co-founder di CleverConnect, di venirci a raccontare che cosa stiamo facendo in CleverConnect e perché l'Italia è uno dei focus country per CleverConnect. Scusateci per oggi, ma l'anno prossimo non più perché ha promesso di studiare l'italiano, sì. Per oggi l'intervento sarà in inglese. Grazie lui.
Grazie.
Il clicker, le chart.
Ciao a tutti, sono Luis, sono uno dei fondatori di CleverConnect. Mi dispiace molto, il mio italiano non è ottimo, per questo oggi parlerò inglese. Inglese? Not sure, so very sorry. I'll try to be slow. And the slides are in Italian, so if it doesn't make sense what I say, at least I hope what's written makes sense, right? I don't have a clicker, so someone somewhere needs to tell me to move the slides, right? Oh, there you are, okay. Ah, here it is. Wonderful. Thank you very much. Okay, very easy one. Just a green and a red button. Wonderful. For silly guys like me. So thank you very much for having me. I'll try to be short. The goal for me today is to give a kind of overview of how we at CleverConnect see the market, right? And this shift in the candidate shortage. So I would just like to start with one question. Who among this audience is currently feeling you're facing a shortage? It's getting more and more difficult to get candidates. There are less and less candidates. Can you raise your hand? Who is feeling there's less candidates? Only 3? I don't believe you. Yeah, you can go, you can go. Come on. No one will judge you here. We're just among each other. Okay, you're not alone anyway, because it's actually 75% of the companies in the world who are currently giving the feedback that they are facing shortage. They don't have enough candidates anymore like before. And the major bottleneck, the worst place, sadly, is Europe. It's where it's most. It's more around 85, 88% in some cases of companies that feel they're not going to hit their targets, their recruitment targets, okay? And this is making recruitment more, that's a good thing actually, more and more strategic. Now, directions of companies, CEOs are feeling this is strategic and they need to invest in it. And this shows, for instance, that there are more and more job ads online. So hiring is more important, there are less candidates, and the bad thing is it's not going to change. It's actually getting worse. If you look at this graph here, you will see that in Europe, there's some place here, in Europe, you will have less and less and less people that are in the age to work, because people are getting older. So if I sum up, we will have more recruitments to do with less candidates, so a bigger war, a bigger problem. This is bad, right? But let's take a look then in this context at the candidates. In this context, the candidates now have power. As in any market, when you have more demand and you have like an unbalance between demand and offering, one becomes more powerful. And in this case, it's candidates. They have the power and they have more expectations, right? And so when you understand that, it's time to look at how they behave. And this graph is supposed to show very easily, it's theoretical, of course, that each candidate now has his own non-linear journey. Each candidate wants his own journey. I don't want you, company, to tell me how I should apply. I want you, company, to understand me if you want me to join. And this shows two theoretical examples of 2 candidates to get 1 application from each with all the different various touch points you need to do at the right time and the right moment, right? So now that we understand this, you say, okay, so let's build the recruitment processes based on candidates' behaviors, like in marketing, right? E-commerce. But the problem is, most processes today are still very company-centric. You all agree? I see a lot of people nodding. I'm not going to ask to raise hands because it can be shameful, but we all agree, okay? And basically what happened in companies, I call it spray and pray, which has been translated diffondi e prega, right? The spray and pray approach is, in my opinion, very company-centric, generic, reactive, and short-term. And it's basically because we in the company, the CFO needs a new accountant, we decide it's time to put a job ad online. So we wait for applications and we hope there's a right candidate somewhere. So basically what you're doing is because we in the company have a need, we expect the right candidate with the right skills, the right potential, the right motivation, the right soft skills to see my job ad, be interested, and apply. And this doesn't happen anymore. So the problem of this process is that it basically leads to quite bad results. And this other one shows you, in Europe, the number of positions that are not filled. So let's face it, what we're doing is not working so well. There are more and more positions not filled. And on the candidate side, it's also leading to more and more candidates being dissatisfied and also potentially even getting away, saying, okay, I don't want to work anymore, I'll stay at home. And so I'm not going to tell all of them, but I really feel very sad about this one as a founder and entrepreneur, in this market, I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. In this market where candidates have power and all of you and all of us are struggling and fighting to get them, 73% of them say it's one of the most stressful moments in their life to find a job. It's weird, right? And then this one, because we want to build a European leader, an alternative to Americans. Sorry for the sponsors. If you look at this, in Europe, in average, candidates are 25% less satisfied by the recruitment processes than in the US. Why is that? Because in the US, they have already stepped up and made the recruitment a bit more candidate-centric. So now that we have said this, what are we offering? How do we want to get to the next step? Our goal is to move from this process we just saw, which is basically just managed with an ATS, which you say, we internally are managing our recruitment processes and organizing it, to building a process for candidates. So you can take pictures. No, just kidding. What we're trying to do is help move the process the other way around, which means first, identify candidates and build talent pools of all potentially interesting candidates I could want to hire someday. Based on their skills we're lacking, based on the type of position, maybe they're working at competitors and we like to have some people joining from competitors, blah, blah, blah. Then from there, build those one-to-one relationships with each of them, with customized touch points, with the right timing, every content they want at the right moment. And of course, automatically, you don't want an army of 200 people sending emails all day long. And three, all along this path, let's say all along this journey, try to identify their expectations, their skills, their potential, and most important, their engagement. Are they ready to change jobs, or are they still very passive? And once you have all this, then you can change the way you hire. You have a new job open, like here, you just push your job to the right candidates that you know have the skills and could be interested in joining your company. So we try to make recruitment candidate-centric, proactive, offer always the right touch point at the candidate when needed, customized, which is key, as we said, in this new market, and also long-term. You don't have to start from zero every time again, right? And this requires functionalities that are, I would say, on top of an ATS, right? Dedicated to candidates. So we have called each of these steps attract, engage, reveal, all right? And our goal is to offer all of the modules, all of the features that can be relevant to build these experiences in one platform that we have easily called the Candidate Experience Platform. And all of this powered by AI and data, which helps us customize, automate, save time, and also take the right decisions without bias, prejudice, okay? I'm not going to get into detail of all the modules. I'd rather tell a quick story in some way, an example of what this can look like for a dedicated candidate, okay? Any question at first on this introduction? Almost finished, by the way. So if we look, let's take an example of one candidate. Please keep in mind that this is one example. You can do hundreds, thousands of scenarios, of combinations, whatever, but this is supposed to make you understand a bit how creative we can become when it's about recruiting candidate-centric, right? So in this example, okay, it works. In this example, let's say a recruiter goes on LinkedIn and finds a candidate that is interesting, says, hey, this candidate is typically the type of candidate we like to hire. She adds him to or her to the talent pool in one click from LinkedIn, okay? Next step, actually, she makes her employee advocacy, I heard about it, right? So I understand some of what was said before. Thanks to our module, the next step is making sure this candidate gets all the people that work in the company today that are in his network, share as many content as possible. So every day he gets content about us and gets to know us and feel attracted, right? Get in his mind in some way, right? It can be through WhatsApp in this example, LinkedIn, Instagram, whatever. Step 3, because all this content is shared, at some point this candidate feels, okay, I'll go take a look on the website, on the career site that we built. And this career site offers him, I would say, a customized experience with the relevant content that he wants to see. Okay? And so, next step, because all this information he saw on the career site feels relevant, he says, okay, I'm happy to take one step more with this company, and I will give consent to officially be in the talent pool. And so now the company can use my data. Before, you cannot use this data, by the way. GDPR, we're European only. So now the company can use the data, which means all the automation part can happen. Which means now that the candidate has given his consent and given all his profile to the company, we can now send him every day, every week, every month, whatever you choose, content relevant with his interests. So the offices, the type of jobs, testimonials for employees that do the same job that he would have, blah, blah, blah. So you're nurturing, making him more and more engaged, which means at some point, so this is what I meant, he receives automatic newsletter, which means at some point you get, okay, whatever, you get an engagement score which says, hey, this candidate is looking a lot at your content. Maybe it's time for you, recruiter, to give him a call. At the end, it's still about people talking to people, no one else, not a machine, and an AI will never hire for you, will never make someone want to join. You want to join people, but all the rest helps the recruiter come at the right moment and have the right pitch, because he knows the candidate is now mature in some way to hear what he has to say. So from there, this example, the candidate then receives, for instance, a job ad from a friend, employee referral, right? We talked about it. And he can apply in one click, very important thing also. Most ATSs, unfortunately, expect a candidate to fill 30 fields, 20 pages before you can apply. Sorry, but when you have done all this and arrive the moment to get his application and he leaves just because there's too much fields to fill, it's very a pity. It's really a pity. And yes, next step, automatically you can say, hey, this candidate seems to have a great CV. Let's ask him to do a video. So we can not only check hard skills, we can also take a look at his soft skills, his personality, his motivation, who he is, in fact. And with all this, you have everything you need basically to hire, making the process very, very short. As I said before, looking at time, this wasn't one example. Sorry, it's very theoretical. I know it's the problem when you have 12 modules. I cannot get into detail of each of them. But the most important thing to understand is probably here. Thanks to all the data we collect and all the setup we can do or you can make sure each candidate has its own experience, which is key in this new market. You can make sure that a candidate that's actively looking for a job, doesn't have the same experience than a candidate who is not looking for a job. You can make sure you're not offering the same experience to a candidate who you know you will have 3 applications, or you know you will have 500 applications. Today, they have the same experience, right? And even more important, people you know, their referrals, they worked with you, they maybe came to interviews, maybe they were even the last interview and you hired the other one. You don't want to treat them like total strangers. You want to make them feel you know them and build the right experience for them. So this is all we do, with the goal, of course, at the end, this was very candidate-oriented, to get back to recruiter benefits, day-to-day benefits. And here you have some examples. When getting creative and, I would say, almost building the Lego blocks to have the right experience for each type of profile and objectives you have, make sure you have recruiter benefits. So in this case, for instance, productivity and time saving, making recruitment processes shorter. Do you know that candidates in average want a 3-week process, and companies in average spend 6 to 7 weeks? Again, candidates have power. You'd better spend 3 weeks or they will go somewhere else. This company, Leroy Merlin, you know, right? They decreased their turnover in the first year by 30% by building the right experience. This is very important because when people leave in the first year, it's a recruitment mistake. It's not about retaining, as I heard before, right? It's about a mistake. If you leave after 6 months, it's just that the company is not what I thought it would be, or this candidate is not as good as I thought it would be. 85% of cases, it's because of soft skills, not hard skills. So voilà, you have some idea of some examples. And just to talk about us, I see some things get away on these slides. There's a map normally here. This is about us. So we're a European company building the European alternative to a market which I feel is very American. And we are 300 people more or less, helping 2,500 clients and 10 million candidates every year. Thank you very much for listening. Dario, if you want to have the last word.
Beh, voglio ringraziare lui che ha fatto questo sforzo di essere qui, ma l'ha fatto con grande voglia. Quindi quando abbiamo parlato di questo evento lui ha detto voglio venire non solo per raccontare la nostra esperienza, ma per avere il feeling di quello che sta avvenendo in Italia, e quindi abbiamo detto quale posto migliore del forum HR. Noi siamo veramente convinti che oggi il candidato scelga e che quindi le aziende devono veramente fare questo passaggio. Non aspettiamo un'altra catastrofe per fare i passi che dobbiamo fare in avanti, ormai siamo sulla strada corretta e quindi gestiamo i candidati come è giusto che vengano gestiti, quindi mettiamoli veramente al centro. Non possiamo nasconderci dietro al fatto che gli strumenti non ci sono, perché gli strumenti ci sono, è solo una questione di mettere a punto i processi e di far sì che questo diventi parte della strategia di ogni azienda. Ma se abbiamo detto prima che la risorsa più critica per ogni azienda per raggiungere i propri obiettivi sono le persone, è chiaro che questo dovrebbe essere centrale nella strategia di tutte le aziende.
Can I add one thing? Because usually when
Sure, you are a co-founder, so you can add whatever you want.
We started 5 minutes late, so we're in the perfect delay, right? Il retraso perfetto. No?
Perfect delay.
Perfect delay. Usually when we show this, it also looks like very overwhelming. Wow, so much things to do, and so okay. And just to tell that all of the stories you saw always started with one module. Always started with, okay, the first thing we want to tackle now is employee referral. Let's start with employee referral and from there build. Our problem right now is we have too many applications and a too high year one turnover. So let's focus on soft skills. Let's start with soft skills. Okay, so I didn't mention it, but the way we like to implement this and start journeys with our customers is also tackling one concrete problem and not saying let's have a 3-year transformational project and see what happens. No, we prefer the short first start. Thank you very much.
To you, Louis, to you.